What's up, guys? Welcome back to the RCR YouTube channel. And despite Giannis not asking out yet and possibly never asking out, I think it's important to go over some teams that could possibly position themselves to trade for him this summer. Now, if you ask for my personal opinion, do I think Giannis is going to ask out? I'd say it's like 75%, 25%, with the 25% being no. I do think he is more than likely going to stay in Milwaukee. But we've seen this with many stars in the past, such as a Damian Lillard. I mean, you can be as loyal as you want to, but at some point you can get fed up and realize you've got no shot at winning at a certain spot. I don't think the Bucks are necessarily at that point yet, but they're getting close. I think another thing when it comes to these teams is this not only are teams that can trade for Giannis, this also signifies teams that could make big moves this summer. So we'll jump right into it. I mean, it could be for any star, but these are the teams that I think are best positioned specifically for Giannis, but could be any star. First team, I think it's the obvious one. It's the Houston Rockets, 2 seed in the West, lost in 7 to Golden State in the first round. So you realize that you need more to possibly go farther in the playoffs, or you need significant growth from the young pieces you have. But they're not like a team like, say, they made the conference finals and they think they could possibly make a run to the finals or win the finals next year. No, they probably realize that they need another piece. They're one piece away. So if you look at first contract filler, they've got Fred VanVleet on almost $45 million a year. Sengun is making $34 million. Jalen Green is making 33, and Dylan Brooks is making 22. So obviously for trading for a guy like Giannis or a star, but we'll specifically focus on Giannis here, I think you're going to need some major contracts to go out to match the salary. Young pieces. I mean, do you possibly throw in an Amin Thompson? I don't know. I don't think Houston would. Do you throw in a Sengun? Do you throw in a combination of Jabari, Reed Shepard, Tari Eason, and of course Jalen Green? And then of course the Rockets have lots of picks. They've got their own picks, and they also have some valuable Phoenix picks as well. So what does a trade look like? I think it really depends on how much is John Horst, the GM of the Bucks, looking to bring back? Are you looking to bring back a stud young player like Sengun or Amin Thompson, or are you looking for just a combination of young players and then lots of picks? No matter what they're asking for, the Rockets have that. I could see probably a trade where I think you really could probably get away with not trading Amin Thompson or Sengun. I think you could do a Jalen Green, Jabari, Tari Eason, lots of picks, maybe throw in a Reed Shepard, something along those lines. But I think it would be centered around, as weird as this sounds, a Jalen Green, but I think he wouldn't even be the most valuable piece in that trade. I think it would more likely be the combination of picks, the combination of young players. I think that's one way to go, but if not, I think Sengun could be on the table, but I don't know. Rockets fans, would you trade Sengun for Giannis? Obviously not straight up, you'd require more, but would you allow Sengun to be the centerpiece of a trade? That's an interesting conversation to have. I think the Rockets are in one of the best positions to trade for Giannis. He fits a position of need. They need a star player. Now, I do have questions about the spacing if they were to keep him in Thompson and Sengun and then plug Giannis at the power forward. I mean, you really need shooting to come from those guard spots then. I think they're more like a Devin Booker type piece away from really contending, like a strong scoring guard. They've obviously wanted Jalen Green to be that, but then again, there's opportunities when you can trade for a star player like Giannis, and it's very rare, you just don't want to pass up on that opportunity if you have the chance. But that's the Rockets. That's an interesting, like, they are win now. Giannis could be the guy to put him over the top. And I think that's an interesting thing we'll get into later in the video. This video is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. The conference finals are kicking off today as I am recording this. And you can sign up on Underdog Fantasy and use code RCR when signing up to get up to $1K in bonus credit and a free pick. They've got a fun promo right now called the Extender, where you get a 40% profit boost on any Game 1 entry in the Western Conference Finals or Eastern Conference Finals, and then that rolls over 50% Game 2, 60% Game 3, and if a game reaches a Game 7, you can get up to a 100% profit boost. So you don't want to miss out on that when you get the opportunity. Of course, the link is in the bio. The code is RCR. Make sure to sign up for Underdog Fantasy so you don't miss out on any of the action. Next team, the Nets. This is where it's just pure, like, they've got space for Giannis. They're a big market. Obviously, Giannis, if he asks out, I assume he's going to ask out to a certain list of teams. I doubt they'll just trade him anywhere, but I think the Nets could possibly be on this list for the sole reason that they're in New York and they've got a lot of wiggle room to kind of do whatever they want to do. Their contract filler, their big contracts. I mean, it's not like the Rockets with the big contracts, but they got Claxton at 25 and Cam Johnson at 21 mil. They're young pieces. Like I layered all these teams into 3 categories: their contract filler, their young pieces, and their picks. Obviously, contract filler is important to make the trade work, but then you got your young pieces and your picks, where you need one of them if you're going to get a guy like Giannis. You either need some elite young pieces or you need some elite picks. The Nets don't have elite young pieces. They've got Cam Thomas and Day'Ron Sharpe. Like, those are your young pieces. You can include Claxton if you want to. But they make their money with the picks. They've got 13 tradable first-round picks right now. They've got picks from Phoenix, the Knicks. They've got their own picks, which are valuable right now. And, of course, they've got other possible picks from other teams. If you're Giannis, why would you want to go to Brooklyn, though? Obviously, location, sure, that's a great big market. Is it a big market? I don't know. They're really in the shadow of the Knicks, especially with the Knicks' current success. So you don't have a lot of talent when you get there. So personally, I think of the 5 teams I'm mentioning, this really is, I think, the least likely, or maybe not least likely, but the least exciting, because Giannis goes to the Nets. Are they any better than the Bucks? Sure, they might have some cap space to make some moves around the edges, or maybe sign another big-time player, but I just don't love this fit. But I do think the picks are important because the Bucks currently don't own their picks, so picks could be valuable, especially when they're coming from teams like Phoenix or Brooklyn. Next team is the Pistons. This is a team that I kind of sneaky would enjoy to see Giannis on. I'm not going to lie. Contract filler, they don't have the best contracts. They've got Tobias Harris at 26.6 mil, and they've got Isaiah Stewart at 15. But they make their hay on the young pieces, where they've got Jaden Ivey. They could trade Jaden Ivey. They could trade Asar Thompson, Ron Holland. You can even throw in Jalen Duren, which I don't think would be a terrible idea, because I don't love the idea of a Giannis, Jalen Duren front court. Those are 2 guys that can't really stretch the floor. Duren not at all. Giannis just a little. So I really think a combination of like Tobias Harris, Jalen Duren, Ron Holland, and then you throw in some picks where the Pistons don't have other picks, but they've got all their own picks. They haven't traded any first-round picks recently, so they've got a lot of room to work with. So this is where it's like, all right, we're going all in on this 2-man game of Cade Cunningham and Giannis, and that is pretty scary good. And I think the Pistons would be a legitimate threat in the East next year, especially with obviously Giannis going away from the Bucks, so you can eliminate the Bucks. The Celtics won't have Tatum. Most likely you can eliminate them. It would be like the Knicks, the Cavs, the Pistons, and the Pacers. Like, those are your 4 teams. And I would take the Pistons possibly in all of those series, especially with a Giannis-Cade combination. So the Pistons are really interesting and not a team I see a lot of media talking about right now. So I like that. 4th team of the 5 is going to be the San Antonio Spurs. And yeah, this one's scary, but after they got the 2nd overall pick, it's just even more likely. And it would work. Devin Vassell is making $27 million. Keldon Johnson, $17.5. Harrison Barnes making $19. Young pieces. Do they want to include a guy like Stephon Castle? I don't know. Castle's probably a guy I would love to keep, and I really think they could do that. But then again, they could trade Castle because they also have other pieces that we'll get to in a second. Other young pieces include Sohan as well. I think he probably goes in the trade. He's a little too similar to Giannis in terms of play style. Picks. They used 4 of them to get De'Aaron Fox. So I think they're going to keep Fox. I doubt they traded for Fox just to trade him again. So let's go. They got Fox on the roster, and they've got, obviously, Wemby. But they got the 2nd overall pick this year, and they have a 2nd lottery pick in the back half of the lottery, and they have 3 more first to use. So you could be looking at a trade of Devin Vassell, 2nd overall pick, another pick. Heck, even I doubt they would probably do Castle, but I'd almost be okay with throwing Castle in too, because then you got a core of Fox, Wemby, and Giannis. That is truly insane, and it's doable. The Spurs of the teams I've named, so far I probably rank it in like Rockets, Spurs are kind of in a tier of their own. Then the Pistons are here, then the Nets are down here. So Spurs, scary team to look out for. Before we get to the last team, we'll kind of go through some teams that I am just not going to mention, or I'm clearly going to mention here, but they're nowhere near the top 5. Teams like the Heat. The Heat have a poor package. They can't go get a Giannis. I mean, if you trade Bam Adebayo in the trade, like what is going to be there when Giannis gets there? The Heat have no package. The Grizzlies, I'm sorry, he does not want to go to Memphis, and I don't think the Grizzlies want that either. So I saw some people say Grizzlies. No. Knicks, New York, no. I don't think that's going to happen, though I think it would be more likely than the other two. Another key thing to get to before we get to this last team is I think the reason I'm saying he's not going to go to a team like the Knicks is because Giannis wants to go to a team that wants to compete right away. And that's why you can't rule out teams like a Golden State, a Boston. And even though I said the Knicks are most likely not going to happen, I kind of want to retract that statement and take that back. And I say the Knicks are in it. Because right now, Milwaukee doesn't have any of their own picks. So either in these trades, they want Portland, who's got picks, I believe, in 28, 29, 30, or New Orleans, who has it in 26, 27. You want them to be a part of the trade to facilitate, to get Milwaukee their picks back. But if that doesn't happen, then Milwaukee has no incentive to be bad over the next 5 years. So teams like maybe the Spurs, maybe Brooklyn, Pistons, even Rockets, those teams that a majority of the haul coming in return is young players, I don't know if they necessarily would want young players. You could argue they want one stud, like a Jimmy Butler. Like, as crazy as that sounds, the Bucks trade. If Giannis asks out and you have to trade Giannis this offseason, do you trade him for Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga, and other things, or Jaylen Brown or Cat? Get a good player in return to at least stay relevant, like a fringe playoff team, and as terrible and as kind of just bad spot that sounds for the Bucks, no man's land, like that might be the reality. So you aren't the laughing stock of the league over the next 5 years when you're tanking, but you don't have your picks. So that's an interesting thing to watch out for. But we'll get into this last team, and this one would be scary because this team is probably going to win the finals this year, and that is the OKC Thunder. They are absolutely in position to do something, and they are primed to make a big move, especially if they don't win the finals this year. If they win the finals, I have a hard time believing they're going to break up just that entire team. I feel like it's the exact same team coming back next year. But if they don't win the finals, say they get upset by Minnesota in the conference finals, well, they've got a lot of pieces to work with. They've got contract filler. Hartenstein's making 28.5. Caruso's making 18. Dort's making almost 18. You've got your young pieces. You can include a Jalen Williams in the trade, Chet, Cason Wallace, Aaron Wiggins. And then they've got tons of picks as well. Just like Brooklyn, they've got 13 tradable first-round picks. So, I mean, you just compare these two teams. Brooklyn, the reason they are enticing is because they have so many picks. They could throw 5, 6 first-round picks in a trade. Well, OKC could do that too. Well, the reason that teams like the Rockets or the Spurs or the Pistons are so enticing so they've got good young pieces. Well, OKC has that too. They've got Jalen Williams, Chet, Caruso, or Cason Wallace, and Aaron Wiggins. And then contract filler they have as well. You could do a trade, say Jalen Williams, Aaron Wiggins, or Jalen Williams, freaking Dort, and a couple picks, and like that's probably enough. And then you still have this insane talent. Like OKC is primed to make a move if they want to. So that's just a scary thing I wanted to mention at the end. So the 5 teams I have that I think are in a good position to trade for Giannis: Rockets, Nets, Pistons, Spurs, Thunder. Let me know if you feel like any other teams are in better position or more likely to trade for Giannis this offseason. Of course, if he asks out for a trade. And all these teams I mentioned, even if it's not Giannis, they are primed to make a move for a big-time star that is ultimately going to ask out, because that happens every offseason. So thank you guys for watching. This was the RCR YouTube channel. Make sure to go follow our Instagram, follow our TikTok. Links in the description. And we will see you guys next time. Peace.